Hey, shalom, shalom. I Rob Tawab La Atham Za'ach Yakam Yawam on Rakhagadal, Charlotte, which is good evening. This is your brother Yawan from the GMS camp in Charlotte. Nachamatam Kaya Hamalakata Shamayim Kwa Ra, repent ye for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Layam La La Abanawi Hawa Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rucha Hakodash Wamashna Laza Kwanim Nawa Wamalakim Shor Chagadal, which is our praises to our Father Yahweh, which means he exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai, delivers in double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Zawaya Qur'ah. This is Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 27. And it says, "You shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard." All right. We can go to it in Hebrew, and it says, La'ah, Takwapwa, Pa'at, Ra'ashkam, Wala'ah, Da, Dasha, Chayat, At, Pa'at, Zakwanka. All right, and again it reads, "Ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard." And now let's get this in the let's get the words in here. And it says to round. It says not quap, and which quap goes into the sun on the horizon. So it says to go around, compass, round, to go around, surround, enclose, to make the round, complete the circuit. So pretty much going into what we know as line ups, edge ups. It says to knot together, i.e. to surround or circulate. All right, and then it says to fasten together, to go in a circle, to surround. Again, pretty much going into what's known as edge ups. You see, because that's ultimately a heathenistic custom. All right, let's get this word for mar, and it says dasha chayat. All right, and that root word is shachat. It says to destroy, to decay, to be marred. It says to spoil. Let me go back. It says NIV, it says do not cut the hair at the sides of your heads or clip the edges of your beard, which pretty much the corners that goes into again, the edge ups and stuff like that. But it says neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard, pretty much edging up the beard as well. That essentially goes into a heathenistic custom. I believe the ancient Egyptians was into that. They would dedicate the hair and stuff like that to different idols, and that's essentially why it was said for us not to to indulge in that, like as they were doing, because that essentially goes into the ways of the heathen, which we'll get out of Warren Tazah in Jeremiah the 10th chapter. But it says, "Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord." All right, and that word for cuttings is going to go into, it says, sharat. It says incision, cut. All right, and that goes into tattoos, as well as different injections. And that was also a heathenistic custom too, going to the printing marks upon the skin, you see, but then also, printing marks upon the skin for the dead as well. And I'm going to read it again. It says, "Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord." All right, and again, that goes into, tattoos, as well as the rituals, for those that, passed on to the spirit world. All right. And then, just to go into that, printing marks on the skin, that essentially tampers with a person's DNA, their identity, you see, because by putting those different marks and stuff on the body, essentially that person takes on the spirit of whatever is in their specific aura, or that their body aura, you see. And that's essentially, again, why Lord said not to get those, you see, because essentially that defiles, that would defile an individual. But running back from the top, Leviticus 19 and 27 and 28, it says, "Ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard." And ultimately, when Jake get them lineups, that pushes the that pushes the hairline back, you know, and ultimately, you know, our hair has a purpose. All right. And again, you know, that defiles us as well. But it says, it shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. All right. And again, you know, that goes into the tattoos and stuff like that, in which, you know, both of those customs, you know, was heathenistic. And I actually want to read this in the New Manners and Customs. It's an excerpt, and it says, it says. It says this forbids shaving around the temples and ears, which, you know, the fade, like the bald phase that goes into heathenistic customs as well. But it says leaving only a crown of hair on the top of the head, as well as mutilating the beard, which were practices of the heathen. All right, I'm going to skip some. It says, do not cut your bodies for the dead or put tattoo marks, print any marks, KJV, on yourself. I am the Lord. It says both cutting and tattooing were done by the heathens. And so the Most High forbade his people from doing so in imitation of them. Tattooing was sometimes accompanied by shaving the hair from the head, from the forehead. All right, you know, Jake is very impressionable, you know. So let's also get this. This is Jeremiah chapter 10, and we start at verse 1. It says, hear, yea, the word of the Lord. Excuse me. Hear, yea, the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Yasha'Allah. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. You know, ultimately, you know, we shouldn't be in the mindset of, you know, following after the heathen. You know, essentially the things that they do are in vain. All right, they don't have any type of purpose. They don't have any type of avail or benefit. All right. It says, thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. You know, and some of those signs, all right, and tell of, the eclipses, all right, you know, stuff in the stars and stuff like that. Ultimately, you know, they take those as, you know, for us, those represent signs of good, you see. But for the heathen, essentially, you know, they are a lot of times, you know, they're dismayed at it, because ultimately, you know, they understand that when they see signs in the heavens, you know, they hegemonies is going to be, you know, touched up. A lot of times that, you know, that goes into, you know, when the Lord is going to take, you know, their kingdom from them. But it says, be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. All right, and ultimately that's going into the custom of so-called Christmas, you see. But ultimately, you know, looking at that in a nutshell, it doesn't have any type of benefit, as well as any of the other, you know, heathenistic customs. All right, as we got, you know, in Leviticus 19 and 27 to 28, you know, that's vain as well. You know, with your edge up, you know, Jake be getting, you know, the Beijing and the, you know, the little chalk, you know, they line it up real crispy and stuff like that. You know, it look good, but it ain't no benefit to it, you know. So let's get this. We'll get Habakkuk chapter 2, and we'll get verse 18. And it says, what profit the graven image, that the maker thereof have graven it, the molten image, and the teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusted therein to make dumb idols. All right, and ultimately, you know, the heathen, you know, they would tap into, you know, the the tattoo marks, and, you know, the edging up the hair, and that hair they will ultimately would have it in dedication to an idol, you see. But again, you know, all of that stuff comes to no avail, you see. What avail or what benefit, you know, are those things going to have for us? Nothing at all, you see. Again, it just looks good, you see. But it says, woe unto him that saith to the wood, awake, to the dumb stone, arise, that shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. You see, so these things, They essentially, they are appealing to the eye. They look good to the eye, you see. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, all right, internally, all right, it's no understanding, it's no wisdom, knowledge, or understanding in any of these actions and ideologies, you see, because the true way to follow, all right, is these scriptures. That's why the scriptures say in Jeremiah 6:16, let's get it real fast, and I'm gonna go ahead and close. But this is Jeremiah chapter 6, and we'll get verse 16, and it says, "Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls." That's the way we ultimately should be walking. It says, "But they said we will not walk therein." It's always, 2/3, Jake. They always want to subscribe to the ways of the heathen. You see, and time again, it's shown that hey, it just don't work. You see, but you know, again, I just want to go into that. You see, because again, we are instructed, not to follow after those ways. All right, and indeed, in this time that we in right now, the Lord is essentially showing, all right, that all of these idols, just as the Lord did in ancient Egypt, all right, the Lord is essentially touching these idols in these different ways and doctrines and lifestyles. All right, the Lord is showing that these things are not beneficial to Jake. You see, so again, just wanted to go into that. I don't want to zaza banayapa. Lord's will, that was a beautiful edification through the Spirit. Well, I don't want to atam. Yashlaya Allah Tawab. Lord's will, you all have a good night. Wa shalom lakam, which is peace unto you all. Shalom, shalom.